Guys, today we're checking out the Rekon7 Pro. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to check out another 7-inch. We're going to take it out, fly it, also come back and check it out on the bench. I'm going to give you my honest opinion on this one. Yes, honest for the haters. But we're going to go over this quad and we're going to compare it to some of the other 7-inches out there. What I like about this one versus some of the other ones. These guys have a little something different that they're bringing to the 7-inch bind and fly game. So let's find out what that is, and let's find out the pros and cons as always in this review. Let's go ahead and do some flying outside. Then we'll come back to the bench. We'll do a complete overview of the new Rekon7 Pro. Here we go. All right, my guys, let's go ahead and do the flight test. And let me show you something interesting here. Later on in this review, I say, hey, I think that the Rekon7 Pro has a better tune than the KOLAS 7. And you're about to see that I made this after the fact for that edit. So I was thinking before I watched this footage that, yeah, everything looked great in the DVR. It looked better than KOLAS 7. Guess what? It's not. This is probably the same or worse as the KOLAS 7 from Axis Flying as far as the tunes going and the jitter that you're going to see on the frame here. So I'm going to show you some raw O3 unstabilized footage right here, man. And I gotta tell you guys, the GoPro footage, as always, looking super nice. Nice looking, nice balance, nice kind of black points on here, color saturation. You can see off in the distance. Kind of overcast again today, and man, it's just still looking pretty good. I love the way the GoPro looks. Come on. Now, the DJI O3, here's what you're going to get with the O3 in 1080p, unstabilized. So turn on the flow state, whatever it's called, Rock Steady, I believe, Rock Steady 2.0, and it'll smooth a lot of this out. Also shooting with 4K at 10-bit, it's going to look much better. A little closer to the GoPro, but guys, honestly, I still prefer the GoPro over the O3. So if you're kind of on the borderline about buying an O3 Air Unit, I would, if you already have a GoPro, if you're already running analog and you're looking to upgrade, you know, 1080p FPV is super awesome. It was weird to me when I switched from the O3 flying today. I went to do another flight test after this one, and I flew a Cadex Vista. Big difference between this O3 and what you see here on the screen versus the Cadex Vista. It's almost like night and day. Everything just seems less colorful, and it seems more muted, and we'll have to do some comparisons of that coming up. But flight characteristics in the goggles, it seemed to be nice. It seemed to have about as good a tune in the goggles or better. But when I got home and analyzed this footage that you're seeing now, you know, proof is always in the footage. I say, don't listen to me, look at the footage. You can see the shakes here on this descent, and look at the GoPro. No problem with the GoPro, super flowy. I love you, GoPro. It always looks nice and just like you're just the best pilot. And we'll have to work on the tune for this quad and some of the other 7-inch. So join the Drone Camps community on the Facebook page. I'll try to get our community a tune on all these quads because I feel like I'm gonna tune them to the 7x4x3 props. That's usually my favorite 7-inch prop. I'll also tune the Chimera as well and give you guys a tune on that one. But still looking super flowy on the GoPro O3. Still some kind of shakes without stabilization. And that shows the true tune on here, guys. So one of the biggest reasons to do a review is to show the tune on the quad. So a lot of times I like to show the DVR and I like to show the onboard footage. And again, unstabilized. There's some stabilized GoPro with hyperflow, looking sexy as always. And this is going to do mild freestyle. I wouldn't say that this is a freestyle rig by any means, but it feels nice and floaty out in the fields, and it is just a joy and a pleasure to fly. So let's go back to the bench now. Let me get real with you guys about the Rekon7 Pro. All right, guys, welcome back from the flight test. I have a bind and fly Rekon7 Pro LR here, and this is the digital DJI O3 version with diversity crossfire RX on there. So GPS in the back. We've got 2 antennas coming off the back as well for the VTX. It also records 4K video, and now the O3 has been updated to do 10-bit. So yeah, people that love the Avata video, you want that on your FPV drone, you can now do that with this new update. That's super awesome. And it does not have, at this point, have any type of remote ID on here. So don't worry about that. You can fly it just like it is. Now this one's $639. There's also an analog version that you can get of this one. That one's around 400 and some. When you start adding things like TBS, it gets more expensive. But if I were you, I'd go all the bells and whistles on that and get the one with the O3 on board using the goggles too. Our DJI O3 is in the very back. You can see the USB port right there. It also has a bind button on this side. I don't recommend flying the FPV transmitter too. Stay away from that for now. Fly Crossfire on your 7-inch drones. You should have a much better time. They also have this TPU extender back here, which goes pretty far off the back side of this quad, and it has an M80 GPS on here. It's a little larger than the smaller version, the BN220 that we've seen on other ones out there. I believe that the iFlight has the smaller version for their 7-inch. So this is nice. You'll get a nice solid lock and a good signal, and you shouldn't have GPS loss. Now on the front of this frame, you do notice that it is a dead cat as well, so I like that. This is a little more straight across the front and less turned out than the Chimera7 frame. And it's very similar to the straight across design of the KOLAS 7 as well. We've got TPU mount here for my GoPro Hero 10. It will handle just about any GoPro that you throw on there. You can get a pretty good amount of tilt. I probably got about 25 degrees going right there for my O3 camera. We've got 2 bolts inside right here. And also, if you just look real close, they have a TPU sort of dampener plate in between this carbon sidewall, and they also have more TPU right inside here. So they're really trying to dampen this camera the best they can for you. So I think that's nice. We also have structural support arms going from front to back right here with this frame. That also helps out with less vibration in the O3 and just gives this frame a little more rigidity in the air. I was also noticing on this frame that it does appear to have enough room here between the quad and the tip of this 7-inch prop that we might be able to run 7.5s on here too. So I like that a lot, that this frame might be big enough for 7.5. If anybody's tried it, let me know. There's also a good clearance here in the back for maybe around 1 inch right there. So it does appear that it could run 7.5-inch props. It's going to give you a little more float with a larger prop. Now, right dead center of the CG of the frame, we've got the flight controller, and we have a Zeus flight controller in here. This is the F722 flight controller. It has a 5-volt BEC running up to 9-volt, which is super cool. The Zeus 48-amp ESCs are on here, and those can run 3 to 6S. You can also run 4S batteries on this quad. So if you want to run a 4S 5000, do it. You'll get around a 10 to 12 minute flight time if you're cruising on these motors. If you want to get the longest flight time, 15 to 20 minutes, I suggest the Full Send 6S Li-ion pack batteries. I'll put some links down below for those. Now, Rekon FPV decided to use the standard 6S KV for 7-inch propellers, and I love that for this long range setup. I've said it in my reviews before, I prefer 1250 KV. I've rarely seen them lower than 1250 kV, but what this does is it gives you a better long range battery life. So you're gonna have a little lower kind of amp draw, as well as kind of less power for freestyle and stuff like that. But when you get up into 1350 and above, that's going to be more like a power style motor for 6S long range. And then it becomes questionable whether it's going to be, you know, if you get up to like 1850 kV, that's going to be more of a freestyle motor versus a low kV motor. It's just going to be more efficient for longer flights. And I love that they did that. This is a 2806.5, so it's very similar to the Chimera Pro 2809. Those are also 1250. And on the KOLAS 7, we have the C287s, and those are 1350 kV. So these guys went a little smaller than the Chimera 7 and quite a bit smaller in kV size than the KOLAS 7. And look at that, there they all are. This is the KOLAS 7 motor, this is the Chimera7 Pro, and now the Rekon7 Pro, all next to each other. They all have hollow core shafts, and the Chimera7 seems to have used the largest bell in all of these. And if you're looking to get any which one of these, if you want to run 7.5-inch props, The quad frames that look like they'll do it so far is obviously going to be the Chimera7, which I have 7.5s on right now, and it looks like the Rekon7 Pro will also run 7.5. This one, however, the KOLAS 7 is more of a tighter frame, more for a compact travel, 7-inch long range. Probably not, it's not going to fit 7.5 on that quad. Now, riding up front of this frame, you have two things just past the flight controller and the ESC. So you have a little TPU mount right here. Underneath the TBS diversity receiver, you also have an external beeper right here, and you can just barely see, but there is a button right here. I'll try to show you some more video of that right now. And if you press that button after you land, you turn off the quad, unplug the battery, it's going to start beeping. So if you press it for like 2 seconds, it'll disable that. But this is the first 7-inch out of all these bind and flies for 2023 that actually comes with an external beeper. And I've been talking about this before. None of them done it yet, but Rekon7 Pro has it. And I think that's great for people. And that external beeper is a Soder FPV drone buzzer. Now, if we look at the bottom of this frame, I love that kind of back from the HGLRC days, Rekon7 might be a spinoff of HGLRC. I love that they use some of the gold hardware on here. This is all M3 hardware all over this whole frame, for the exception of these 4 bolts right here that go through to hold the arms. These are a little larger, being M4 size bolts. I think that's pretty nice that they beefed up the main frame support bolts. So let's just jump right into kind of the final takeaway for the Rekon7 Pro. Now, some positive things about this quad. We'll talk about some negative things too, and the haters will say, I don't talk about negative things. Well, we know what to say about the haters. Let's just get into the cool stuff about this quad. It has the O3 Air Unit on here, which does seem to perform great with a new 10-bit update. So I would recommend that you do that on yours. And I also like the fact that they chose 1250 kV motors. I've talked about this in my reviews before. On a 6-inch long-range 7-inch quad, I want 1250 kV. I don't want like 1850. That's more of a freestyle motor for a 7-inch prop. I just don't like that. But I do like the fact that this frame is big enough, stretched out enough, that it looks like we could put 7.5 on here. I love that. This frame is also designed by Dave C FPV, so it's that iconic Recon FPV Dave C collaboration that they have going on here. I also like the fact that they have the beeper on the front. This Soder beeper in the front is great for you guys, because if you're flying long range, man, you're out there a couple miles and you drop down into the drink, or well, in the drink, you're not going to get it back. But if you drop into the woods somewhere and your battery flies off, the bigger the battery is, the more likely it's going to fly off in a hard crash. If you're going 60 miles an hour and you fly through the trees, it's pretty likely that both these straps could break, and some scraggle is going to rip your battery right off there. So that's something to think about. They also took extra time to reinforce it inside this frame with a TPU case. So it's not likely that this is gonna come separated from the drone frame itself. I had another 7-inch crash before where everything flew off, including the buzzer. So the buzzer was like over here, the battery was over here, and the frame was somewhere else, and the GoPro was somewhere else. So when I went to find my quad, I picked up the beeper by itself, and I'm like, oh God, where's the quad? So I think that the way this one's designed, it has a standoff here on this side. It also has a standoff on the other side. So I'm thinking that that's going to be pretty safe. Even in your hardest crash, I think you're going to keep your external beeper there. And that baby will beep up to two days. It has its own little battery on there. So if you're brand new to 7-inch, welcome to the fun. There's a lot of fun to be had here. So I think that the tune could be better. The power system on here, it's great. It's an F722 flight controller, and it does have the 1250 kV motors, which I think is great. They're right on par with the Chimera7. You almost can probably add 7.5E props on here as well. And I think that the flight time on this one, it's going to be a shootout when we get all these quads together and see who gets the longest flight time. I'm guessing that it's going to come down between this one and the Chimera7. That's what I think it's going to come down to, the showdown for those quads. But we still have to wait for the Geprc Mark 7. That one's also coming down the pipe for 7-inch bind and fly. So we'll be reviewing that one on the channel as well. Hopefully we get an O3 version of that so I can show you some stabilized 10-bit footage. But that's the review for today, guys. And again, like, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, join my Patreon. If you enjoy this information, please do subscribe on the channel as always, guys. And we will bring you more awesome reviews coming up on the channel as well. We got more electric skateboards coming, electric bikes, and awesome quads. So guys, I appreciate you. Be well, take care, and I'll see you on the next one.